Okay, guys, Sam here with you. It's the Thursday the 4th here. I'm kind of getting a late start because we had our webinar this morning, but I'm going to try and get through as many as I can here. First up, this was the most requested, and I understand why, having looked at this chart, at least the current action. So there's the New Zealand to the dollar. Now, I've got a daily chart up here, and we've looked at this not too long ago. So longer term count, it's some interesting things happening here. So I have us completing a diagonal up here, right? We see the overlap of the 4 to the 1. So the question is, where are we? So what is that? Are we ending or finishing something here? We don't have a lot. We were going back here to 02, the big sell-off. So where are we? Well, it's hard to make a sort of a long-term call on this, just because if we completed something here, we see we don't have enough history to go, well, did we complete something or finish or start something there? So you just kind of have to back into this. There is a diagonal, so we can get a motive wave here, kind of odd shaped. And then so look, we get this double top here, and what a big rip down. Now we go from the low here. Let's see what yeah, I've got the wolf range on here. We'll get back to this. We break the golden zone here, but I wanted to draw this to your attention when I see here. So we have what appears to be. So we've got this double top up here, and then we have all this straight line of resistance that's up here. So if when I see this kind of ranging, right, and we're doing it again here, it makes me think about range expansion. So I quickly grab the wolf tool here, and I did notice this. So if I'm going to grab here this pivot here where we have this double top, I'm going to the first pivot low. All right, so this first drive down here, not the absolute low, the first pivot before we start the retrace that gets the 50. Well, I did notice that this was awfully good here. So you see this range that we establish here, and then we come up and we test the low end of that range. But note here, from this, I get an exact 100% expansion of the range. Then we're back to the start of that range. So you can, in essence, we have two ranges here that have been the market has established, right? So here's the upper range, the lower range. Now, are we going to keep going and head down here to the lower range, right? And that would put us back closer to these lows over here. Interesting, right? So support becomes the resistance. We've got a target down here. We're going to come back and double bottom here. Wouldn't that be interesting, right? Double top up here, a triple top up here, and perhaps another double bottom down here. Very interesting. So that, don't forget about range expansion, right? You'll see it all the time in FX. Right? So, but even if you went down to the lower low, we're not that far off. You still are getting this range here. Yeah, we got some wicks through it, but we're essentially just coming right back into all of this action here. So we have a clearly established support zone, has become resistance zone. Now, where are we headed? Well, I'm not sure the Elliott count is terribly helpful here on the longer term in terms of where we are in the grand super cycle. Oh, shit. What can I see, right? What you got to trade what you see, not what you think. So I don't have any long-term macro view. What I can see here is we're in the lower half of this range. Can we get a count on it? Yeah, we can get a count on it. So here's a 5. This certainly looks like a kind of an odd shape here, but we get just this incredibly just straight down. Retrace back to 50% of it, so you can see if I went to the whole thing, just looked at all of it, well, here's 50% of that range, right? Just another way to look at it. So full range expansion back to half of it. Now we're going to go back down, test the low end of that. So let me with that having shown you that, let me just go back to our standard measure move. So if we look here, well, it doesn't matter. We can use either one of these here. So if the idea, I think we finish with a diagonal here. So it's a lot of diagonals. And then we come down here. Now this gets very tricky, but you can see from dominant swing, wherever we know the algos kick in here. So we've got that happening. Sorry, guys. So from that 50, this gets very tricky, right? And this, probably 10 Elliotticians are going to count it 10 different ways. Let me go down to the 4 hour here, and we'll break into this. 4 may not do it. Let me get, I'm going to have to go to the 8 here so we can see all of it. This is very tricky here. Now, coming off of what I'm proposing here is an A wave here. I can get in fact, I get an impulse. Or so if I'm wicking off my 1 here, I can get an impulse here into an A wave here. And it's, you know, so it's a little funky, A, B, C. You got to dig here to get the 3, so you have to have your 1 down here so we don't overlap here. It's ugly, right? No question about it. It's just an ugly chart formation. But I can, with a little finagling, get this thing to play into an A wave here. Now here we get something. It looks very much like what we had up at the top. So from this, I think we get another diagonal here. It's, you know, look at how deep the 4 goes. But boy, the ABC, 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 this just straight up, but I can get an ABC to finish down here. So I think what we end up doing here, I think we go into the larger A wave here. But then we have some complexity here. Then I think from the A, I think because I have a leading diagonal here, I think we go A, B, C into the B of the next degree. So here would be the B wave here relative to this A. Then, so we're going A, well, let me show it to you on the, so let me get rid of that one so you can see that. So then on the larger one, I think we're doing this. We're going A, B, up into the C, where essentially we double top yet again. That's what I think we've got here, which is certainly open to interpretation. I'm not telling you that is the count. That's how I'm counting it. Right, even this one's a little dicey here because you can see the impulse. So we'd have to go A, B, C here. So you got to go A, B, C. It's very oddly shaped for an Elliott trader here. So let's get that down here. So A, B, C. Like this one, dicey. You got to go A. Oh shit! Essentially, you've got to go A, B, and then you got to go C here. Now this. Shit, you know, what do you do here? So where's the 1? So I can definitely get something here, and then I can get an ABC into the 2. So I don't see another way to count that. So I think we go 1, 2, all the way down for the 3, because this congestion here is much more typical of a 4 than a 3, because there is the thought here that you might have 3, 4, and you've come down finished with a diagonal yet again, but I think we've got to put the 3 here. Now that would be an extension in the 3rd as we're beyond the 2618, but this looks like wave 4 type of trading, just range bound here. So I don't think we can work this as a 2. So I think we've got to go 1, 2. Now pulling from the 2 through the pivot of the 3, well, 50s, right? You know, it's deep, right? But we're getting, oh, it's kind of the same idea here, right? So all of this seems to be consistent with all of that prior support. Yeah, it's not perfect to the tick kind of stuff, but even all the way over here to this wave 1 high, we're just support, 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 resistance, resistance, resistance. It implies to me, as I look at that, this is implying to me we've got another kick down here. So this being more likely, more probable to be a 4 here. So we can get that off. Let's see another way to count that, right? It's just so squirrely, right? It's just we've got kind of this. So if you use, oh fuck, come here. We use some of these pivots here. We get this nice. Oh, it's a little bit something like that here. So to me, that just implies that the higher probability. So we can look at it a couple of ways. This is kind of a funky pattern here. I would want to see a break of that trend line. So 1, 2, 3, something weird in here for the 4. Then that it says to me that the higher odds here are break lower. So could be, well, nice. So here I'm on an 8-hour. Let's go down to a 4-hour. So you can see this ranging, this seems to be very range bound here. So we're kind of doing the same thing. We're just stuck in this range, which looks a lot like what happened up here, which looks a lot like what happened up here. You see how we just, so we get these series of just ranges, right? So we get this, oh, well, we'll call it the whole thing. We get this range followed by this range. Now we've got the same thing happening here. Range, range, range. So whenever, shit, just saying it, right? So you think range expansion. So pulling this off here, now I would come into all of this. Let's go back to, let me go to a 2-hour here. Is there some range expansion here? Well, You know, this is just such chop here. You know, I would just, it's not rocket science here. I would just pull all this stuff up and say, well, I want to be a seller below that, and if the, you know, we're coming down to this range, where are we? So just looking as an algo would, right? Algo doesn't give a shit about an Elliott count. So here we go. So we've already broken the golden zone. So what's the last algo play? It's the sells off of the 50, since the buy side has been broken. So we do not, even if I do it this way. So if I pull here, oh, that's interesting. So look at that. So we break on the buy side here, but these have held 1, 2. All right, are we holding? So we back again. We end up back in this kind of sideways congestion area. So one thought is, well, is there a trade here? You know, you're stuck in a fib fight, right? So you could make a case to be a buyer here because it's held. So you've got algos defending, but the larger degree implies the move down. Since the larger algos, they're selling here at the 50, they'll defend up here. It is interesting to note this. Look where this algo's targets are, right in the golden zone up above it. So this thing could, and we could stay in a bigger range than that. So I don't know that you have any particular advantage here. You know, what's the call, right? So far, just stuck in this range, you buy the low end of the range, you sell the upper end. Well, shit, now this is a pretty big range here. So we're from, so we'll call it 67.20 up to 69 and change. So you got a pretty wide range here of 2 full points. Is there a trade? Well, yeah, right. I mean, you can always come up with a trade here. I don't see anything to give you. There's no way to get an advantage here. No statistical probability or setup that really. So you know what is this, right? This looks like A, B, C to me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 looks like we've just started coming down, and we've got a motive wave to get us started. Now, are we done? Maybe. Let me go, well, we're down to an hourly. Let me zoom in on that. So if the 4 is in here, and we've got 1, 2, 3, let's get it, let's get it over here. 4, right? So we've got the makings of an impulse that's gone in. Well, now that doesn't look like it would be done here. So potentially, now this is kind of, you know, as I was working through this, I just don't see a trade here really. So what you'd have to be trading there is that the 4 is in, and you'd be waiting for the 1, 2, looking for the 3, 4, 5. Again, just got to put them somewhere. So let me put that in yellow, and we'll go up a degree or 2. And we can go minuet. Oh, that's works. Okay, so looks to me like there's a that is the most annoying quality of trading view. So we can go 1 A B C. Now if this breaks down here, well then we're going to have to put the 2 in here. Well, pardon me, I shouldn't say that. Not necessarily just yet, because we could have an extension in the 5th. So if this is going to go 1, 2, well, you can see the 3, 4, 5. So the 3rd looks solid. I'll bet that's technical as well. It's just, I'd be surprised if it weren't, right? So look, yeah, look what we get. All right, so here's your high probability zone for the 3rd. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm fairly confident that we've got the good 3 A, B, C into the 4. Well, is this 1, 2 or A, B? And we've got the potential for this to kick up here for a deeper 2. So if I'm looking at this now, I'm not dying to buy it here because of that potential that we get an extension in the 5th. Now that's a bit far for a front run on the golden zone. So what do you have here? Well, I've got a channel. For sure, I can do this, even if I use that. So let me clear some of this up. Okay, so for sure, I've got some sort of a channel underway here. So again, is that? Because certainly it looks like it could be. So we can definitely get an A. Maybe the B is going in. We'd be looking for a C here. Well, if I clear all this out of here, let's get rid of all of this and see if we can put a roadmap together. So if we've got a completed impulse here, if I do not know if that's completed yet, if that's completed impulse, well, I'm looking for the 2 at the 50. So I'm looking for that. Could you be a buyer here? Yeah, you know, you're at the low end of the range. Maybe. So you can see what's the last thing the algo did, right? So we can see here, right? Here's the 50. They've got that as the target. So this could be, we're just going to get a little kick in the fifth here. So I'm not dying to buy that. I much prefer the sell right here, right? It's looking for whether, so you can have a straight algo play there, but if you're going to get a true third, you've got the potential for this to run. So this might be partial profit, you know, secondary profit, and you've got a third target down here. So if you're going to get the full Monty here, we're going to get a true third here and get an impulse. You're looking at a pretty sexy looking risk reward there. Okay, so, but we don't know, right? So I don't want to buy into the, you know, the possibility here that we're the B into the C. I'd rather wait, get confirmation here that I've got the setup that I like. Impulse, ABC3 into the 2. I want to trade the third, so if I can get on board the third anywhere in that pocket, there's your trade right there. Until then, you know, yeah, I'm not one to just buy a range just because I can identify a range. I'd rather wait and get this. And if I miss it, well, I'm just going to keep pulling the one. Never fails. I'm going to keep pulling the one down here. All right, so this 4, if it's going to get to that target, well, maybe I've got a kicker in the 5th here. Then that's my 1. Then I would pull this to here, and then I'm still in that same location looking for the sell side up here. Right, target got a little lower if that's what we get. So if this is going to keep going and this algo is going to get to that first target that I was just showing you, well, then we're still looking for the 2, because it would be confirming that we've got an impulse heading down. I'm waiting for the retrace. I will wait for it, right? I'm not, you know, in a hurry to get into a trade here. I'll wait for what I like. So this, I prefer to sit. Now that could take 3 months. Right, there's just no way to know. So unless you just like this kind of range trading stuff here, I mean, you can certainly make the case here. You got a lot of structure down here. If I include all of that. So if we're going to stay range bound, maybe for me, I wait for that. Right, that's too good. And this is maybe, coulda, sort of, maybe, might be. No, not putting money at risk there on maybe, could, possibly. I'll wait for, oh, I've got a high degree of confidence in that, and I've got great risk reward. Here, you know, what's your target, right? You'd be looking for just to the 50. There's not enough in it. It's my view, anyway. All right, guys, there you go. Back to you in a bit.